this is my review of Solar Opposites. Okay, so in this episode, Korvo is trying to get the family to actually go to a Taco Tuesday night thing that he started as a way to trick them into learning about ship stuff, which they kind of need to do in order to get off of Earth. And when they don't show up for the third Taco Tuesday that he's done, he finally confronts them as they're on their way out of the house and finds out that they're actually going to a birthday party instead to go see a magician. And Korvo, despite their best attempts to dissuade him, he follows along. He goes with them, and he's quickly bored by the magician pointing out that how all the tricks are done and realizing that he can do it, and also realizes after seeing how much his family idolizes the magician, realizes, wait, I can do this, and then my family will love me. So he starts to devise a set of tricks to actually try and figure it out. And with the computer's help, he actually realizes that he can combine sleight of hand with his pastime, which is alien sci-fi technology, that he can actually create some unique one-of-a-kind shows that will actually impress a lot of people. And sure enough, he prepares a trick for the family, and it goes over really well. But at that point, the fame immediately goes to Korvo's head. And he tries to network with a casting director who try and make the big time, and she turns him down because he's kind of boring. And dejected, he starts throwing away all of his magic tricks, which actually wind up being filmed by some kids, and it winds up going viral on the internet. And by that point, he actually does become a famous magician, and it eventually escalates to the point where he creates one of the best tricks ever, where he jumps through a black hole and tries to survive, which is one of the coolest things ever. And sure enough, the rest of the magic community kind of agrees, because he's approached by a couple of other magicians who point out that the trick is a little bit too cool and that if he does it, it'll ruin their careers. And Korvo, not having been intoxicated with fame at this point, blows them off and goes back upstairs to continue practicing his trick. At which point, the magicians leave, with Jessie going after them with her little magician book to get their autographs, only to discover that they are actually planning to assassinate Korvo, pointing out that if he does successfully pull off the trick, it will ruin them, and they want to make sure that doesn't happen by any means necessary. So Jessie, naturally, having overheard all of this, goes to tell the rest of the family, who arrive at Vegas to stop Korvo's trick from being assassinated during the trick. But naturally he blows them off because he's still upset about the fact that they blew him off from Taco Tuesday, and now that he's a famous magician, they suddenly care. So he's a little bit pissed about that, even though they point out it was like 1,000 years ago, metaphorically speaking. But in any case, Korvo brushes them off and has them escorted out of the premises, though Yumulak kicks a guy in the balls, even though he's not entirely sure why he did it and how it worked, because apparently Schlorpians don't have genitals. I kid you not. Apparently they don't realize that humans have a thing. They apparently realize that humans don't have genitals and didn't realize that is kind of essential to the reproduction. So yeah, it makes sense that they don't understand, though, considering that they use replicants to make new people. But in any case, yeah. Upon realizing that Korvo is in incredible danger, they actually kill the two people trying to assassinate Korvo, effectively stopping the assassination attempt. However, Korvo botches the trick and falls into the black hole, which causes him to die. And the rest of the Schlorpians hold a traditional Schlorpian funeral for him and pick up Taco Tuesday in his stead as a way to honor his memory. At least but that's how it should work for about 5 seconds until Korvo shows up and reveals that he's actually alive, and then explains how he did it. So apparently, in between all of this, when he ditched his family for Vegas, he realized that they actually were a family, and realizing that he had gone too far, he actually set up an elaborate ruse to fake his own death. So what he did was he paid off a couple of people to play as actors, which is a bit of a problem since Yumulak definitely killed 2 people. But in any case, Korvo actually hired some actors, implanted false memories into everybody that made them think they were magicians, and then cloned himself to go up and jump off of the black hole, and it worked. So apparently it was just all an elaborate ruse by Korvo to actually get them to show up to his Taco Tuesday night thing, and it worked. So, yeah. But also, there's also a B plot, which is occurring throughout this episode, which is that it's occurring inside the wall, which again is happening, is a thing that's happening. So inside the wall earlier in the episode, Yumulak actually puts a chef named Sherry in the wall, pointing out that she gave him shrimp when he didn't want shrimp, and points out that he could have died if he had been allergic to shrimp, although it's unknown if he actually is allergic to shrimp or if he was just overreacting. But in any case, he puts her in the wall, at which point she's rescued by Tim from some looters, and he explains how the wall works. So, in the time since Yumulak has started putting people in the wall, it's apparently adopted a good and service barter system, and has adopted a religion, and even has a basic system of government. So the wall is run by this guy called the Duke, who we meet at the end of the episode. But the Duke is this guy who takes some of the resources, redistributes them, and that's how he maintains power, and that's why he's at the top of the wall. So, and also they developed a religion around Jessie because she's the person who actually feeds them. She's the person who gives them all food. However, it does come at the bane and benefit because while she does feed them, all she really ever gives them is candy, which is a problem if you're diabetic. Case in point, one of the people in the wall, Enrique, is very diabetic and can only eat chocolate because that's the only thing they throw down into the wall. So his son Pedro just decides to request Tim and Sherry's help and actually getting some insulin for him so that they can actually rescue their father from his diabetic condition, or at the very least help maintain it. And sure enough, they realize that the Duke is the only one who has insulin, because it's very hard to come by, because nobody ever comes in with insulin, apparently. Diabetes is a rare disease in the terms of people in the wall don't really have it all that much. So very few people actually are diabetic in the wall, and it shows because very few people actually have insulin. And the few people that do have it are kind of hoarding it. So with that, Tim, Sherry, and Pedro set off on a journey to actually find some insulin for Pedro's father. Their first stop is at the church, which again I explained sprang up as a religion to worship Jessie. And they talk to the lead nun at the church, only to discover that they don't actually have enough insulin to go around. Although Tim does accuse them of actually hoarding the insulin for themselves because they don't want to compete with the Duke. And while they leave dejected, one of their clergy women actually comes out with a Slim Jim, offers it to them as a peace offering, and tells them that it probably won't be able to be enough to buy insulin, but it will definitely be worth something. And sure enough, Pedro gets the brilliant idea to actually trade it for a Playboy, which doesn't work out since the guy points out it's one of the few pieces of literature that made in, and even then, it's a Playboy. He's not going to give that up. And while Pedro isn't willing to take no for an answer, so he actually steals it and causes a riot in it, and then go to meet the Duke. And sure enough, they arrive at the Duke with the Playboy, and he's more than willing to make the deal, but he also explains that someone has to pay because they started a riot and it spread to a couple of levels, and he actually lost one of his enforcers trying to maintain it, and pointing out that a lot of people actually died for that stunt. And while he does give the group their insulin, he kills Pedro to make a point. But sure enough, they get the insulin, and are able to save Enrique. But Tim points out that the world needs to change. If things continue the way they are, it's just going to continue to be a problem and continue to spread chaos. And Tim points out that he wants to actually fix what's wrong with the world, and points out that he'll have to tear it down if he has to. So yeah, the wall basically starts up its own thing, and it's one of the more interesting things in the season that happens. It happens alongside the family's antics. It happens alongside the Slurpians' antics. But it's interesting in that it's just one of these things where it's like, these people got shrunk down. What happens when you take someone away from everything they've ever known and put them in a situation where they now have to learn how to fend for themselves? And sure enough, that's basically what the wall is. It basically functions. It basically recreated itself into a new society that kind of rebranded itself into a good and service barter system, using whatever people had in their pockets, and while also pointing out that he who has the most resources gains the most power. And they also developed religion as well as a way to cope, I guess. But yeah, the wall is just interesting because it just developed, because a new society basically developed within Yumulak's wall, and it's one of the coolest things in this series. It's very interesting, and I can't wait to share the rest of it with you guys, because it does slowly take over the show until it eventually gets its own episode. You guys will probably figure out which episode that is, but when you see me review it. But it is going to be a very interesting seeing how the wall actually develops, and I can't wait to share that with you guys when the time comes. So, in any case, that's my review of Solar Opposites. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon if you want to help support the show. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm always saying thanks, so be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!